will just let it go.
No, baby. He started this. Now I'm gonna finish it.
I got in one little fight and my mom got scared and said, "You're moving with your auntie and uncle in Bel-Air."
Promise. Trust me. And Viv, I don't think so. See, this is the same dude that said a squirrel ate that 6-pack of Milky Ways.
It's been discussed for 25 years. It's insane. I said I have a family. I need you to tell the world that this stuff didn't happen.
Or loved ones to create enough psychic energy to reach Trevor. So, what do you guys say?
Thank God I'm not alone.
Those are your baby shoes?
Well, yeah, I had big feet.
You know what they say about a guy with big feet?
Mrs. Robertson and her daughter Wendy.
Those are your...
They be saying, damn, you got some big feet.
Or love...
How come he don't want me, man?
Tonight, we're pulling the lid off the mansion and tracing the paper trail, the power plays, and the choice points that shaped the show's most private conflicts. This is the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air's latest news told straight, centered on the feud that split a TV family, the contracts that locked careers in place, and the exact steps that triggered an irreversible recast. We're following the pitch that started it all, the living room audition that turned into a binding deal, the IRS agreements that swallowed paychecks, the writer's room rules that blew up into grievances, and the day a creative dispute became a permanent change on screen. It's the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air scandal update, mapped cleanly from offer to signature to fallout. No guesswork, just facts that line up. As you listen, what detail jumps out as the real turning point, and which choice would you have made differently if you were the one signing? The beginning was business, not mystery. A life story became a format. A manager carried a real relocation tale into a meeting and framed it as a legal vehicle for a weekly series. The setting changed. The concept stayed exact. A kid changes zip codes and walks into a house with rules, wealth, and expectations. Contracts followed. A star arrived with a tax bill larger than most budgets. The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air needed a lead who could anchor the premise and deliver week after week under network timelines. He agreed to do it under financial pressure and under terms that paid him, while also satisfying federal obligations. The money split was formal. Withholdings were standard. Garnishment schedules were clockwork. The agreements were not soft promises. They were enforceable structures that ran for years. The network side moved fast. A producer with authority set an audition in a private home, heard a read, and steered the decision toward an immediate order. Lawyers rode in a limousine and wrote up the first framework in hours. That framework governed work for hire, name usage, likeness, promotion, exclusivity, and payment cadence. The name on screen matched the actor's legal name by choice, and that choice was strategic. People would call the character by the real name forever, and the paperwork didn't have to fight the brand. The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air became a business line on a ledger, not only a credit in the closing titles. Schedules fixed lives. Table reads, blocking, shoot days, pickups, reshoots. A writing staff faced deadlines and room rules. A celebrity's relatives had staff roles by contract and by hiring decisions, and those placements shaped the workflow. The room's tone shifted. Practical jokes crossed into misconduct. A bottle prank moved from a bad idea to a recorded grievance. A female writer received an improper nickname that targeted identity and faith. The issue wasn't abstract culture. It was definable harm under a workplace standard. Meanwhile, the cast was building chemistry while carrying clauses about behavior, publicity, and availability. Those clauses weren't decoration. Violations could trigger write-ups or term changes. The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air ran on script delivery and performance captures require order, not chaos. Inside that order, one relationship became the axis of a long-standing conflict. A lead wanted speed, control, and a lighter tone. A co-lead wanted layered motherhood, dignity, and a share of creative weight equal to the title card. That contrast sat over every beat of work. When a season turned, the dispute turned with it. A standard option period arrived. That window is where a show keeps or replaces. Offers land, counters land, extensions and escalators get tested. In this case, the offer didn't match the co-lead's position. She was holding a newborn life at home and a principal at the office. Value me on the page and on the check. She declined the terms put on the table. The production moved forward without her. Replacement is a legal event. Casting calls go out. Union paperwork gets filed. The new hire signs onto the existing structure and steps into the wardrobe, the marks, and the schedule. The character's arc is adjusted. Agency shrinks. A profession becomes backstory. Teaching turns into time off. The show simplifies the maternal line so the lead can fill the frame with speed, jokes, and weekly case of the house stories. The conflict didn't linger in rumor. It lived in term sheets and a recast notice. The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air kept going, but the shape of the family changed permanently. The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air's latest news shows the pivot clearly. A tense negotiation failed. A recast was executed. A mother figure lost narrative weight in favor of faster plots. That's not a vibe check. That's a production decision with line items attached. Another day, another clause in action. The IRS arrangement remained in force and swept a large share of gross into government accounts. The series served as both a creative project and a payment engine. Each episode paid down a debt and kept the lead in compliance, which is a legal victory as concrete as any award's shelf. Compliance meant freedom later. In the writer's wing, policy kept writing hours long and control close to a small core. Two relatives with security backgrounds shaped story talk, which warped the usual chain of critique. A joke that mocks becomes a note you must take when the person joking can approve your paycheck. That power asymmetry produced behavioral spillover. The tequila incident wasn't a wink. It violated every handbook page and converted into a memory that people cite as proof of a broken room. But the show still had to deliver. A single scene captured the craft side perfectly, away from gossip, inside the law of performance. A father leaves. A son breaks. A mentor anchors his partner and says, "Use me, not the air." Lines shift. Tears come. The director calls cut. There is no IP dispute there, no contract argument, no grievance to file. Just work that meets the show's duty to deliver compelling television under the contract's quality clause. And yet the feud's aftereffects touched the edges of everything. The replaced actor bore a label in professional spaces that hurts careers. In a later sit-down, both principals acknowledged concrete harms. Words carry reputational force. Call a performer difficult. And gatekeepers treat the term like an all-access key to say no. The reconciliation years later was not soft. It was direct acknowledgement that a label can be a financial and professional weapon. On camera, he took responsibility for the impact of the word. On camera, she outlined the personal stakes during those negotiation weeks. A home under stress, a marriage under threat, and the steady strain of walking into a set where leverage tilted against her. That exchange didn't rewrite the past. It put a ledger line under it. The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air scandal update is a paper and people record. An offer, a refusal, a recast, a career path forced to kink, then restart. In parallel, the show's internal compliance issues formed their own trail. Nicknames with slurs, pranks that cross health lines. Those are not harmless. They create hostile environment claims on paper, even if they never become lawsuits. They chill speech. They narrow who feels safe to pitch. And when the room's only white female writer documents the treatment, that becomes a written memory that outlives single episodes. The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air kept a production cadence. But the real story is how a classic ran while hauling a cart of internal conflicts behind it. A later era introduced a second legal track, rights and rewrites. A filmmaker built a proof of concept that reframed the premise as a dramatic series. The original star watched, liked, and moved to package it. Streamers competed. A service won. Orders went straight to series. Underlying rights were cleared. Credits assigned. Producers listed. That's not a rumor. It's a chain of contracts stamped and countersigned. The new show doesn't redact the past. It treats the old contract as ancestor law and writes a fresh agreement under modern terms. The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air's latest news now includes two related but discrete entities, with the brand living in parallel lines. One more thread matters. A cast father figure passed, and with him went a living pillar of mentorship on set. That loss is not gossip, it's a date on the record. It closes one chapter and changes the climate of memory for everyone who signed the original pages. The bonds among the rest remain, shaped by years spent under common clauses, common call times, and common marks taped to soundstage floors. Look at the chain and ask yourself, at which link could someone have chosen differently and changed the fallout? If a deal had added a temporary pause for maternity with full respect and a path back to parity, would the recast have been avoided? If the room had enforced its conduct guidelines, would the grievances disappear and the hours feel human? If early power had paused for 5 minutes of mediation, would reputations have stayed intact? The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air scandal update presents a ladder of exact steps, and any one of them might have softened the landing. What would you have done at the exact moment the offer was presented? Would you sign and accept less? Would you reject and walk? Or would you counter and insist on terms that reflect your value? The most useful commentary here is practical. Set aside rumor. Read the paperwork. The initial origin contract created an identity structure. Real name as character name. It's clever and binding. That choice fuses brand and person, which boosts recognition and simplifies promotion. It also means that any scandal touches the legal name, not an alter ego. There's risk in that. Yet the same fusion protected the brand across years, because the audience never has to adjust to new labeling. Then the tax entanglement. Agreeing to a garnishment timeline is hard, but it's clean. It trades a chunk of immediate pay for long-term solvency. Work becomes a repayment engine. That engine turns 3 seasons into a life reset. Now the writer's room. Workplace rules should be as tight as the blocking. The prank that violated basic hygiene standards was not a small thing. In a fully enforced environment, that action triggers discipline, up to removal. The nickname incident isn't edgy, it's evidence. It targets identity and faith, which falls under clear no-harassment language. Enforce those rules, and you change the climate, the output, and the retention of writers who don't share the room's dominant power circle. Now the casting turn. An offer that looks standard on paper can be unfair in practice. If a performer carries a newborn, you can build a protective bridge. A structured hiatus, a guaranteed return episode, a parody bonus to compensate for lost screen time, or a limited episode carve-out with billing preserved. Any of those tools avoids the permanent harm of a replacement. The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air's latest news shows the fix. If you value stories and people in equal measure, keep both pages open, and never close the book on repair. If this kind of deep dive helps you see the machine behind the screen, drop your take on the deal term that mattered most. Say which fix you'd sign first. And share the one line you wish had been in the paperwork from day one, because that single line could have changed the ending for everyone.